All right. And good morning, everyone. And welcome to today's session of Truly Foundation and A Course in Miracles with your temporary host and guide and teacher and coach, Oliver Blue. And I am so delighted to be here on this beautiful fall Tuesday in the year 2023. Don't know when you are listening to this, whether it be live or whether it be recorded. Whether you listening to it in 2023 or 2024, or whether you listening to it in 2100. This lesson, this session has been prepared with you in mind. It has been prepared with all humanity in mind. Why? Because the goal of all of us is peace, as the Course in Miracles says. The goal is peace. The goal in your life is peace. Is not necessarily the attainment of peace, but the awakening unto the peace that is everywhere present. The goal is the awakening or the awareness or the recognition. We can use any of these words. Our goal is to find or to remember who we are. Our goal is to remember the one source of life. To remember and to come to understand that there is only the one and that we're all part of that one. However we want to put it, however we want to say it. Because it is through that recognition, it is through that understanding that we discover that we are peace. That we discover that we are whole. That we discover that we are perfect. That we are strong and powerful. It is through the recognition of our true self, of the oneness that we all share with one another, that we discover that we are loving, because our nature is love. We discover that in reality, we are not in discord, but we are harmonious in our nature, that we are in harmony with our Creator and with all creation. And through all of that discovery, we come to understand the happiness that we all seek. We come to understand that we are the happiness that we seek. That happiness is basically saying that there is nothing missing and there is nothing broken. In reality, there's nothing missing and nothing broken about our real true identity. That we are, like the scripture says, we are complete in Him. And then it goes on to say in scriptures that in Him, that we live, in Him that we move, and in Him we have our being. Well, what is the Him that they're talking about? Depends on what path that you might be on, depending on what theology you may have been exposed to. That Him basically is symbolic of the one source of all life. That Him is basically a symbol of the one creation that we're all a part of. That Him is just a symbol. You know, the Bible uses it this way. It says that uh, it said with God that it says this way. It says that it was God in Christ reconciling the entire world to himself. The himself. What is the himself? To that one source, to that one energy, to the one reality. And I'm telling you, we're living in such a time where the information and the revelation of this oneness is being messaged abroad. This message of oneness is no longer held in some small group or some corner. Like Paul said in the scriptures, he said that there was a time in time past where this reality was somewhat held back. I think that's in Ephesians. He said, but it's now been made manifest. It's now being revealed to all humanity. This message of oneness. And all the spiritual avatars, all the spiritual gurus, all down through history pointed to this message of oneness. And the greatest of them, the most notable of them, was Jesus of Nazareth. His whole message was about the oneness of God. His whole message about the reality of humanity and divinity is one and the same. That all things come from the one thing. That was really the foundation of his message. There is no specialness in this message. There is no separation in this message. There is no special people in this message. Nothing in form is able to break apart or destroy the message of oneness. Why? Because oneness is what it is. And when we embrace this reality for our own individual self, it's when we embrace the peace of God that passes all understanding for ourselves. It is not in a religious practice. It is not in a theological doctrine. It is not in specialness. It's not in separation. It's not in division. It's not in strife. It's not in war. It's not in fighting. It's not in superiority nor inferiority. But the peace that all of us so desire to experience is in the knowing. It's in this discovery that is already present, and it is everywhere present. It is the knowing that it is all powerful, and that it is all intelligence, and that it is everywhere present. Jesus said it this way. He said, the kingdom of God is spread out over all of the universe. That it penetrates and it permeates every breath that we breathe. Every breath that we breathe contains all that life is, all the intelligence of life, all the meaning of life, all the power of life is within the one breath. In Genesis, in the creation story, it says that the source of all life breathed into humanity. What? The breath of life. So the breath that you breathe contains all of life in it. It is what sustains you. It is what animates you. It's what energizes you. It is what sustains you. And it is that breath on the physical level that sustains the physical. But it is the breath of the Spirit on the universal level, on the formless level, on the timeless level that sustain the spiritual. or the spirit, which we all share. The oneness, that word spirit really means oneness. It means nature, the nature of our true, eternal, infinite self is sustained by the one breath that God is. And so the goal is peace. The goal has always been peace. The goal of A Course in Miracles is peace. The goal of any spiritual path is peace. And peace doesn't come from without. Peace comes from within. It comes from within itself. And when we discover the one self that we are, the one self that we share, and we discover the peace. So that's where we are this morning on this 364th lesson out of A Course in Miracles and the workbook lesson section of the Course in Miracles. And I'm just delighted that we're bringing this adventure, this project, to a completion. We did it. We're one lesson away from saying we did it, that we brought about commentary to all 365 lessons. We've been on an adventure of mind training. We've been on an adventure of forgiveness. We've been on an adventure of awakening and enlightenment. We've been on this journey of self-discovery. And how sweet it is. How sweet it is to discover the one self that we share. We have concluded that there's only the one, and we're part of that one. That's what we discovered. And that one is the same one that the source is. That one is the same one that God is. So we have come to an understanding what Jesus meant when he said, I and the Father are one. He was not only speaking for himself, but he was speaking for all humanity. He was speaking for you and me because it's a truth. It's a truth that is true always. It's a truth that cannot be altered or changed. That who we are in reality is what God is in reality. And that our individual expression or demonstration of that oneness doesn't make us apart or separate from the source itself. Because whatever is in the universal source, whatever's in God, whatever's in love, is in the individual. Whatever's in the universal, it is in the individual. So whatever God is, that is what you are. That's what you've always been. In truth. Now, in this world of perception, in this world of deception, we have substituted that reality for something that we made of ourselves, something that we allow to be a part of the conditioning of this world, by being conformed to this world, by being conformed to an idea that is totally antithetical to our reality. But we're never comfortable with that. We've never been comfortable with feeling inadequate, and you will never be comfortable with feeling inadequate. You've never been comfortable with the feeling of separation. You'll never be comfortable with the feeling of separation. You've never been comfortable with seeing yourself at having a beginning and having an end. And you will never be comfortable with seeing yourself as having a beginning and an end. Why? Because that is not the nature of you. You are an eternal being. You are timeless and formless, and you are infinite, which means there is no beginning and there is no end to you. This is the truth that is true always. These are the revelations. This is the mystery that Paul talks about. Even in his restricted understanding, he said, this is the mystery. Christ in you. But now we understand that it's not Christ in you, it is Christ is you, the hope of glory. Yes. All of this history, all this religious history that we have accumulated is no more than pointings, no more than symbols to point us to the truth. And the truth is everywhere present in this present moment right now, and it's always been present. So today, workbook lesson 364, we're going to look at it. We're going to look at it as we culminate this journey of awakening we've been on, this journey of mind training. Oh my God, it's been a wonderful 22 months. It's been wonderful. Thank you for those that have listened in, even if you've only listened in for a moment, even if you only listened to one of the 400 plus lessons, even if you only, left a comment of encouragement. I thank you. I appreciate it. So workbook lesson 364, I'm going to start where we left off last time on 363. And we were really sharing from the section on the final lessons. The final lessons. And what we have learned so far about this introduction to the final lessons is that forgiveness and the part that forgiveness plays in the plan of salvation. And we concluded in our last lesson, 363, that we are forgiven now. And because we are forgiven, we understand our ability to forgive the world. There is no forgiveness for us unless we forgive the world. There is no forgiveness unless we let the world go free. And when we say the world, we let the idea of a false self, the idea of a separate self, the idea of a self that is in prison with sin, consciousness, guilt, and fear. That is what the world is. The world is a false belief. When the Course talks about the world, you're not talking about the physicality of the earth and the stars and the moon, but he's talking about the idea that we made up, this false idea, this false self that we made up, that we was really really successful at making ourselves to be something that we were not created to be. It's like we succeeded at it. No, we didn't. We just fell asleep and dreamed of being something else. We just fell asleep and dreamed of being separate from one another and separate from God. We dreamed of being sinners. We dreamed, right, of being in lack and in poverty. We dreamed of being in dis-ease. We dreamed of being broken and unworthy. All this was a dream that we made up by virtue of rejecting the truth of who we are. And so the Course in Miracles calls it, that's the world. And so we have to forgive the world. We have to forgive that tiny mad idea of separation. We have to forgive ourselves for giving any value or holding any credence or giving any credence to a self that God did not create. That's the journey. That's the awakening. That's the enlightenment. When we but recognize who we really are. It's I in the source and the source in me. We are one. And when we embrace that oneness, then the idea of separation is dissolved. The idea of being weak, the idea of being born and dying, it is dissolved. The fear of death is dissolved. The whole idea of being powerless, the whole idea of being unloving, it dissolves when we embrace the truth. We cannot hold the truth and falsity at the same time. We have to either embrace one or embrace the other. And when you embrace one, the other seems to what? Dissipate. That's why as long as you hold on to a false self and a false identity, a self that's separate and not at peace, a self that's vulnerable and subject to death, subject to birth, subject to lack, subject to fear, subject to dis-ease, as long as we hold that as the truth, we imprison the truth. And so we have this temporary experience of experienced life as something that is to be navigated in such a way to avoid the pain and the hurt and the anxiety and ultimately death. Life is not the avoidance of death, but life is the denial of death. Life is the denial of separation. Life is the denial of duality. Life is the embracing of the oneness, that all things are the one thing, that we're all connected to life, that all the power of life, all the intelligence of life is everywhere present at every moment. And it penetrates and permeates our very nature, the very essence of who we are. So we always have access to this life. We always have access to this power. We always have access to this intelligence. And we access it according to A Course in Miracles through the faculty of the mind. Because the Course says that the mind is the activating agent of spirit. In other words, it is this mind that seemed to be split, that seemed to be in opposition. That has somewhat malfunctioned because of our belief that needs to be corrected. The Bible says that the mind needs to be renewed, brought back to its newness, brought back to its original state of oneness. And how do you do that? We've been talking about that for the last 22 months. It's called mind training. The Course calls it the miracle. It says that is the miracle. When we recognize that we have been misaligned, when we recognize that we have willfully gone into disharmony or discord, when we have willfully denied the truth of who we are. And then we'll have this awakening experience or this awakening moment where we realize I was dreaming this experience up. And it didn't really happen. But that in reality, there's nothing but love itself. In reality, there's nothing but God itself. In reality, there is nothing but what God has originally created. And we wake up from that dream of separation. We wake up from that dream of being powerless and vulnerable and sick and anemic and separated. And so, this is where we left off the last time. And I'm going to finish this final lesson introductory today as our lesson for 364. And if you remember, again, we said that what we've learned in these final lessons is forgiveness and our oneness, or the one shared interest that we all have. And I'm just going to read from paragraph 5 under the final lessons. And this is kind of where we ended last time. It said, we will not end this year without the gift of the Father, or without the gift our Father has promised unto us. We are now forgiven. That's the gift. That the whole world has been forgiven. Everyone has been forgiven. And we are saved from all the wrath that we thought belonged to God, which we know now that's a misnomer. It's like oil and water doesn't mix. Love and wrath don't mix. God and wrath does not mix. There is no wrath in God. God is light. God is love. The idea that God is wrath or God is an unloving father came from the dream of separation. And found it was a dream. See? And found it was only a dream. I'm reminded of the little saying, the little song, or I don't know how you say it, but it makes so much sense now. We used to say it as little children. We used to say, roll, roll, roll your boat gently down the stream. And that merrily, 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 life is but a what? Dream. Yes, a life of being asleep to the reality of our true identity is but a dream. It's not real. But the good news is that God has guaranteed that all of us will eventually wake up from the dream. All of us. All of us meaning what? All encompassing. That means if there's one, he leave the 99 and go and get the one. Why? Because it's not all of us unless that's all of us. That's why it is really insane to deny anyone the grace that has been given to all of us. It's not the grace of God is not special. The grace of love is not a grace that has its nature in specialness. There is no specialness in love. Love is all encompassing. Love is all encompassing. That's why forgiveness is all encompassing. And our forgiveness must be what? All encompassing. You cannot hold grievance against anyone. You can denounce ideas that one may hold, but you cannot denounce what God has created. You can't bring one charge against God elects. And who is God elect? All of life, all of creation, all of humanity. And so it says, we are forgiven now, and we are saved from the wrath that we thought belonged to God, and found it was a dream, that we are restored to sanity. That we are restored to our sanity. In which we understand that anger is insane. Anger is insane. To be angry is to be insane. To be angry at another to desire the wrath, your own wrath, to be towards another. It says it's insane to hold this idea. Why? Because he said if you're holding this towards your brother, you're really holding it towards yourself. That's why I say it's insanity to do it. If you dig a ditch to put someone in, you better dig too. It says, in which we understand that anger is insane, attack is mad. And when we look out into our present day world and see the attack that is going on among humanity, here the course said is madness. Absolute madness that leads to sadness. And it also says that vengeance, to be vengeful, to be on a quest to repay someone or something, it said it is foolish fantasy. Because the vengeance that we extend to another, we'll only extend it to ourselves. Why? Because we understand the oneness that we share. That's why understanding this message on oneness, that's why understanding the reality that there is but the one is so vital to your peace. It's so vital to your well-being. Because when we don't understand that there's only one of us, including God, and we believe in the idea of separation, the anger and the attack and the vengeance that we attempt to carry out against another, we're not realizing that we're carrying it out against our very own self, because there's only the one self. That's why Jesus said it. That's why he said this. He said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Why? Because your neighbor is yourself. Look back over your life and you will see where you was mistaken or where you were in error, and you chose to go on the attack, or you chose to express your anger, or you chose to demonstrate some level of vengeance, that eventually the same measure that you dealt out was eventually measured back to you. That's because of the oneness that we share. That's why it's so important. It's so vital that we understand this. This whole 22 months that we've been together has been about teaching us about the oneness that we share, about the one being, the one self, the one reality, the one love. And when we see things from that perspective, when we shift our perception to that of oneness from multiplicity, then it affects everything about us. It affects our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our actions, and definitely our experiences or our results. We would take heed to every thought. We would take heed to every a thought that is not in alignment with love. We would take heed to every idea that we would hold for another, understanding that we're holding it for ourselves because it's just one of us. So if we're going to be free from the insanity of anger, if we're going to be free from the madness of attack, if we're going to free ourselves from the foolish fantasy of vengeance, we must recognize this truth that is true always. We must understand the law that is governing life. It's based on this oneness. We must understand the shared interest that we have with one another. We must understand that all minds are joined. All minds are one mind. And there is but the one universal mind that is the source of all of life. And it's changeless and it's timeless. And so we have been saved from the wrath, because we learned. See, salvation comes through learning. That's why if we're not studying spirituality for ourselves, if we're not being led by our own internal teacher who's within all of us, our own internal guide, which is in all of us, which its one responsibility is to bring us to a place of awakening, a place of knowing. That's where the learning takes place. We have been saved from the wrath because we learned we were mistaken. Our learning is not someone else's responsibility. Your learning is not someone else's responsibility. Your learning is your responsibility. Your ability to respond. Your ability to be led and guided into the truth. Your ability to receive the truth that is true always. It's your responsibility. It's my responsibility. Teachers are those that have come to understand that we have a shared interest and have said yes to be a vessel for sharing these ideas, these truths. But it's still the responsibility of the individual to learn who he is. And this truth and this reality, like Paul said, it's not held back. It has been made manifest. It's not a mystery. It's no longer held from us, but it was reserved for us. And it's been poured out without measure throughout all the world. So that we can learn that we were mistaken. And it says nothing more than that. And is a father angry at his son because he failed to understand the truth? No. Is the source of all things angry because what the source created failed to understand the truth? No. Where is the anger coming from? Where is the revenge coming from? Where is the vengeance coming from? Where is the anger coming from? So where is the wrath coming from? It's coming from our own self, our own misunderstanding. It's coming from us being conformed to this world. And so paragraph 6 says, and this is the last paragraph under the section, final lessons. And I know it has something to say to us. So let's see what it says. It says, we come in honesty to God. We come being honest to the source of life and say we did not understand. Like the Course in Miracles says. It says, put down this course, lay down all your theology, put away all your experiences, let go of everything that you have accumulated and come with what? Holy hands unto the source, or come with holy hands unto your God. In other words, all the things in life are just but symbols. Everything in life is just but a symbol, regardless of what the form that it is. Every embodied person is but a symbol. Every star, every grain of sand, every man-made thing, everything in form is but a symbol. It's not reality. It's temporal. It will eventually disappear. But it was useful. It is useful to point us to the truth. Come, it says, come with holy hands unto the one source. Come with empty hands into the truth, unto love, into reality, into the one all-powerful, all-knowing, universal mind, all the intelligence that exists. He said, come. That's what it means when it says we come honesty. We come in honesty to God, holding nothing. We come knowing that there is but one. And we come in honesty to God and say we did not understand, and ask this one source of all things. We ask this of God. We ask of him to help us to learn his lessons. So this is about us learning the lessons. So life is all about learning lessons. And here we're talking about the final lessons. And it says that we ask him to help us to learn the lesson. Jesus said, ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall what? Be open unto you. It's the same thing he's saying here. Come into your God with empty, holy hands. Notice now, holy hands, not bringing any idea that you have made up. Leaving all your prejudices, all of your conditioning, leaving everything that this world has taught you. And come with empty, holy hands, because that's the only way to approach the truth. Is to empty ourselves of everything that we have thought of ourselves. It's called, coming to yourself. Coming to a point in your life where you know there must be a better way, because this way that I've been on, this journey that I have been on, has not brought me peace. So we come in honesty to God and we say that we did not understand. And we asked him to help us to learn his lessons through the voices of his own, through the voice of his own teacher. Notice now, there is a voice, there's a universal voice. In the religious community, they call it the Spirit or the Holy Spirit. In non-dual religions, they call it the self. They acknowledge that the voice of God is our very own voice. In non-dual, I mean, there's not two. But in most of our dual religions, there's this idea of a God, and then there's this idea of everything else separate. All right, that's what duality is. There's God, and then there's everything else. But in non-duality, the idea is there is God and there's nothing else. Everything is God. And so here it says, lessons are best learned through the voice of his own teacher. And would this voice hurt his creation? Would the Creator hurt his creation? Will the Father hurt his Son? It's a rhetorical question. Or would the Father or would creation rush to answer him and say, this is my creation, this is my Son, and all I have is his? We have an example of that when Jesus said he heard the voice that spoke to him that said, this is my what? Beloved Son, in whom I am what? I'm well pleased. This is what a God would do for his creation. This is what a father would do for his son. He will not hurt him or harm him. So there's no reason to be afraid to come in honesty to God and say that I did not understand, and to ask him to help you to learn his lessons through the voice of his own teacher. It says, be certain he will answer this way. Be certain that the universal mind will answer the individual mind. With all I have is yours. All that I am, you are. Be aware that the Father will answer the Son. All that I have is yours, my son, my daughter. What's in the goose is in the gander. They are not two different things. He will answer thus, for these are his own words to you. All I have is his. Paul said it this way in 1 Corinthians. All things are ours. All things are ours. Why? Because there's only one of us. For God to deny you, for love to deny you, for the universal mind to deny you, is to deny itself. Likewise, for you to deny your brother is to deny yourself. Because what? There is but the one self. There again, that message of oneness. And this is the final lesson that we would learn, the oneness that we share, which is the first lesson that we would learn, the oneness that we would share. And until we learn that lesson, we will see ourselves separate from other selves. We will see ourselves separate from God's, and we will stand in a place of fear instead of a place of love. So be certain his answer will be this: for these are his own words to you. And more than that can no one ever have. More than that. You can't have more than all, because all means all. There's nothing missing and there's nothing broken. When you realize the oneness that you share with God and with every living thing, you realize that you have all and in all. And more than that can no one ever have. You are the all in all. You are a part of the all in all. You are a part of the very life the very life that is the source of everything. And more than that can no one ever have. For in these words is all there is. God has given you and given all of us all there is in creation. In creation, we are complete. We are whole. In creation, we are shining in the reflection of the love that we share. In creation, we are sanctified and guaranteed eternal life. We are love perfected and without any idea of fear. We are joy established without any opposite. We are the holy home of God. We are the holy home of life. We are the heaven where love resides. We are the holy sinlessness itself. And in our purity abides all purity. And we can sum all of that up by saying that we are whole. We are perfect and strong and powerful and loving and harmonious and happy. This is what it means when it says, this is how our own teacher will answer us. And that there's no more than we could have than this, because in this, it says, in these words is all there is. We've been given the all in all. And all that there will be throughout all time and into eternity. So the power, all power, like Jesus said in Matthew 28, before he was leaving his disciples, he said, all power is given in heaven and in earth, given unto me, and it's given unto you. He said, therefore you go in this oneness, in my name, in my nature, in the nature of oneness, in this understanding, in this awakening, in this enlightenment. Therefore you go in my name and you spread the good news. You be fruitful, you multiply, you have dominion. Because all power has been given unto you. And not only is all power has been given unto us, but all intelligence have been given unto us. All wisdom has been given unto us. All knowing has been given unto us and is everywhere present. It's not in a doctrine, it's not in a building, it's not in form. But the remembrance of God, the remembrance of all of this is in our mind. And that's why he said, renew the mind, because when you find this treasure, which is in earthen vessels, you realize that the power is not of yourself. The power is not of your dreamed up self. The power is not of your personality. The power is not of your own intellect, but the power is of God. The power is of this one life that we share. And it's eternal. And it's now. It is now. It's always been now. It's always been present. And so we live in this ocean of omnipotence. We live in this ocean of omniscience. And we live in this ocean of omnipresence right now. Everything is right here, right now. And you are part of that. And only interference to your experience of that is a mind that needs to be disciplined, a mind that needs to be renewed, a mind that needs to be trained and brought into alignment with this reality. That's why we've spent the last 22 months studying from A Course in Miracles. This is what it's been all about. So that we can understand that that which is real cannot be threatened. That which God created can't be threatened, can't be altered or changed. Who you are and your true self and your true essence can't be altered or changed. It can't be born. It can't die. It doesn't have any limitation. It's infinite. It's everywhere present. What you truly are. It's what this power is. What you truly are is what this intelligence is. What you truly are is what this pure presence is. That it cannot be threatened. And that which we dreamed up, that which fell into a trance or fell to sleep, that which is not real, it does not exist in reality. It only exists in dreams. And it is through this understanding that lies the peace of God that we all desire. It is through the acceptance. It is through the recognition of the oneness, this one life that we all share, is where the peace of God lies, because that's where God placed it, and he placed it within your mind. That's why Jesus said, let this mind be in you that was also in me. That humanity and divinity is one. That being in the form of God, while he was a man, see, humanity and divinity have become one. He thought it not robbery. He thought he was not taking anything from God's reality by saying that he has equality with God, appearing in the form of a man. He said, this is the mind that you have to have if you're going to enter into the peace of God. If you're going to enter into the rest of God, this is the mind. This is the reality. This is the way you have to think. This is what you have to know about yourself, that you have equality with God, that you have equality with all of life, that you're not chopped liver, that you are not inferior, that you are not a sinner. God is not mad at you. God is not angry at you. God is holding wrath or revenge towards you, as we have all been indoctrinated and conditioned by these fear-based theologies. And that's what has kept us from the peace that we so desire. And we've tried everything to find the peace. We've given everything away. We've given all of our money away. We've tried all of the doings, praying, shouting, singing, all of the things that we have tried to do to feel the peace, to be at peace. None of it was able to sustain the peace. Why? Because what was missing is our knowing. What was missing is our recognition. What was missing on our journey of awakening was embracing the truth of who we are. And so, this holy instant, would we give to this reality? We acknowledge this reality. We will follow this reality, certain that this reality will give us the direction to the peace that we so desire. I'm just kind of paraphrasing here in Workbook Lessons 361 through 365 because they're all the same. And if we need a word to help us, that word will be given unto us. By the voice of his own teacher. And if we needed a thought, that is what will be given. And if we need but stillness and a tranquil, open mind, these are the gifts that will be received of him. So the truth that is true always and has always been the truth, whether we embraced it or ignored it, is in charge. And especially in charge by your request, by my request. And this reality, this truth, this love will hear and answer us, because this truth, this love, this reality speaks for God, our Father. And it speaks for God's creation, which are one. And so we all have this voice. We all have this internal teacher. We've always had it. It's been with you all your life. It's been with you throughout eternity. And it will forever be with you. And as we get quiet, we but hear the voice that speaks for love. We but hear the voice that speaks for God. We but hear the voice that speaks for our reality. And it says, well done. And it says, all things are yours. And so it is. All right. That is Workbook Lesson 364. I didn't know how it was going to unfold, but it unfolded. And that leaves us one more lesson. My God, my God. What a journey. What a journey of awakening. Oh, by the way, if you're listening today is the 7th of November, 2023. If you're listening to this, speaking of journey of awakening, there is a There's a conference. There's a gathering that has been put together by Pure Present Conference and the Center for Awakening, formerly known as Teachers of God. They have brought together all of these international, spiritual, scientific, philosophical teachers and speakers, a gathering. So it's a gathering that is going to take place starting on November the 10th through the 12th, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a 3-day virtual conference. And this is being, again, put on by Pure Presence Conference and the Center for the Awakening. And its entire intent is to open up this space, open up this spiritual space for humanity together. And the theme of the conference is the journey of awakening and the unity of the mind, body, and spirit. There are some absolutely phenomenal speakers that's going to be at this event. And this event is free of charge. This event is free of charge, and you can register for this event in this post, in this recording, when it's posted on YouTube or Facebook, there will be a link where you can click the link and go and register and be a part of this 3-day gathering where these speakers and teachers and all of the attendees will come together around the love of the truth. And there will be all different people from different walks of life gathering together. So it's an international conference. And so you are invited to attend. And again, it starts November the 9th, November the 10th, Friday, November the 11th, Saturday, November the 12th, Sunday. And just so happened on the Sunday, November the 12th, yours truly will be presenting. I will be speaking in a 90-minute session starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And I invite you to come join us. We're going to be sharing and kind of closing out the conference because it's the last sessions. And so I'll be attempting to add my part to it and tie all of it together up in a nice little bow and package. And I'm excited about it. And I really encourage you to come. If you are a person of increase, if you're a person that believe that there's more in store for you and you are about expanding your awareness, expanding your consciousness, if you are about becoming more of an expression of your true self, which is love, then this conference is for you. This conference is for you. It's for everyone. So I invite you to come. But until the next lesson, lesson 365, which will be the final lesson for this project that we've been on, until then, peace be with you. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.